Hi everyone, welcome back to your very last section of notes for the entire year. That's so exciting. It's almost summer, I can't believe it. But this is the last one and it's nothing new again. So just let's refresh your memory on law of cosines today. And then we'll do a little bit of law of sines and law of cosines. But hooray, last section, right? Okay, so law of cosines. We just did law of sines. Remember the formula sine A over A equals sine B over B, right? Notice that there's only sine in that. Now this one's law of cosines. Only cosine's going to be in it. Okay, and it's the same idea. You have a triangle, angles A, B, and C. Little a is opposite angle A, little b opposite angle B, little c opposite angle C. Okay, for the sides. When you do law of cosines, we can only use law of cosines if the information they give us is side angle side or side side side. This will be important in just a moment. I talked about law of sines was angle angle side or angle side angle or side side angle, okay? This will be important in just a moment. For right now, all the problems that we're going to do are going to be a law of cosines. But law of cosines says, given a triangle ABC, you could find either little a, side A, or angle A by doing a squared equals b squared plus c squared. Kind of looks like Pythagorean theorem, doesn't it? Minus 2bc times the cosine of angle A. Okay. Notice the a's are on the outside, and then side B and C is in the middle. Okay. Now, if you're not looking for side A or angle A, you could be looking for side B or angle B. If that's the case, then you start with b squared and you end with cosine of b. Okay? And then now in the middle, because we have b on the outside, it's a and c. So I have a squared c squared minus 2 times a times c times the cosine of b. Okay? Or let's say you were trying to find side C or angle C, okay? Then you would have C's on the outside. We would have side C, and then we'd have cosine of angle C, okay? Capital letters are always the angles, little letters are always the sides, okay? And then because the C's are on the outside, that leaves A and B in the middle. Okay? And so these are your laws of cosines. You do not need to memorize all three of them. It's the point of, do you remember the pattern? What you're looking for, the variable you are looking for, the side or the angle is on the outside, and then the other two sides are in the middle of the formula. So again, let's say you're looking for angle A. I'm going to use the orange one. Angle A, cosine of A is on the right, a squared, side A is on the left, and then the B and C are in the middle of the formula, b squared plus c squared minus 2bc, okay? Or if I'm looking for side C, the C's are going to be on the outside of my formula, A and B will be in the middle. Oh, yeah. And so you just kind of want to remember the formatting of this, okay? And what you're solving will always be on the outside. The variable side pair will be on the outside of the formula, and then the other two sides will be in the middle part of the formula, okay? So let's take a look. We have our triangle here, okay? Notice what's given to us. It's a side, an angle, and then the side. Okay, side, angle, side. This is why we're going to use law of cosines. So I use LOC for law of cosines. On the last section, everything was law of sines. We didn't have to worry, but we're going to soon find out that we can mix those two up depending on what we have. So I have law of cosines. Now I'm trying to find the value of x. X is opposite this angle 71 degrees. So for this angle side pair here, okay, these are the values that are going to be on the outside of my formula, okay? Because x is a side, I'm going to start with that, x squared here, okay? And then I'm going to end it with the cosine of 71 degrees. So notice that angle side pair, that's in the outside of my formula, okay? The other two sides, in this case 23 and 9, those are going to be the middle parts of my formula, the b squared c squared minus 2bc part of it. Okay, it doesn't matter which one's the b and which one's the c. You can do 9 squared and 23 squared, or you can do 23 squared and 9 squared. It doesn't matter. But I'll do 9 squared plus 23 squared minus 2 times 9 times 23, and then that's times the cosine of 71 degrees. Okay. This is something now we can just plug straight into our calculator. 9 squared plus 23 squared minus 2 times 9 times 23 times the cosine of 71. So I'm going to go to my calculator. If you don't have your calculator, go get it. Okay, you want to make sure you're in that degree mode, so toggle over to degree wherever you are, and we will start. So I have, I usually don't use this calculator for this part of it. Where is the squared? Oh, here we go. Let me just see if it goes 9 squared. Yeah, okay. So I have 9 squared, and then I have plus 23, this little x to the y power. You hit that. It's plus 23 squared. Minus 2 times 9 times 23 times the cosine of 71 degrees. Close my parenthesis. Okay, so I can literally put these ones straight into my calculator, and I get 475.2147 ... So I'm going to come back, and I'm going to say x squared is equal to 475.2 blah, 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 whatever it was, okay? I still haven't solved for x, though. The last part of this is going to be to square root both sides. Normally, when you square root two sides, you get a positive and a negative, but because we're talking about lengths of triangles, we're only going to look at the positive. So the square root of x squared is x. Square root of 475.2, I'm going to go back to my calculator, and I'm just going to hit square root, and I'm going to do of my last answer. Okay, and I hit equals, and I see that it's 21.799 ... We are going to round to the nearest 10, so 21.8. So 21.8, and that is the length of this missing side of the triangle. Okay, so again, my angle side pair, the x and the 71 degrees, those go on the outside of my formula. The 9 and the 23 go in the middle. So whatever you're looking for goes on the outside. The other two pieces go in the middle. Okay, let's do number 3. You had to do this in your last night's homework as well. Okay, you have a triangle ABC, and they give you this information. You need to draw the triangle yourself. It does not matter what it looks like, and it does not matter where you put your pieces of information for A, B, and C. So I'm going to put A here, B here, and C here. Your A, B, and C can be in totally different place, but it doesn't matter because angle B will always be 106 degrees, as it said. Segment AB will be the length of 10, and segment BC is going to be a length of 7. Okay? And we are looking for segment AC. So I'm going to look for this piece here, X. Okay? All right. Notice we have a side 10, an angle 106, and then a side 7. So side angle side, this tells us we use law of cosines. Okay? So I'm sure I know I need to use that. And we need to find side X. So here is my angle side pair, 106 and X. So those are the values that are going to be on the outside of my formula. So it's going to be x squared, oopsies, x squared equals, and then on the other side, it's going to be the cosine of 106 degrees. Okay? Then the other two sides, the 10 and the 7, will be in the middle. Doesn't matter which one's first and which one's second. So it's just 10 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 10 times 7 times the cosine of 10 degrees, or 106 degrees. Sorry, not 10 degrees. Okay, and these are just numbers you can plug straight into your calculator. 10 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 7 times 10 times the cosine of 106. And you get x squared is equal to, if you plug that all in correctly, 187 0.5892. Okay, you should be practicing your calculator, making sure you're getting the same numbers. And then on the calculator, you square root both sides. When I square root 187, I get 13.7. And that's our missing value for x there. Okay. So again, the angle side pair, whichever piece you're looking for, that goes on the outside. The other two pieces go in the middle. Okay. Now, of course, it's not always that easy. Sometimes we have to find the angle, and it takes our math just a little, we need a little bit more math to do to find our angle, okay? Notice on this one, what they've given you is side, 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 a side of 11, a side of 8, and a side of 10. So side, side, side is also one of those where you use law of cosines, okay? All right, so we are looking for this value of x here. It's an angle measurement. Notice this x and the 8 are the side pair that match up to each other, opposite angle, opposite side. So the 8 and the x are what need to be on the outside of our formula. Okay. X is an angle, so it's cosine of x. 8 is the side, so that's going to be 8 squared. And then on the right side, it's going to be cosine of x degrees. Okay, so now our missing piece is part of the angle, so it's part of the cosine. But the 8 is still a side, so it starts on the left. So these are the pieces that go on the outside of your equation. And then the other two pieces, the 10 and 11, okay, will go in the middle of your formula. So it's 8 squared equals 10 squared plus 11 squared minus 2 times 10 times 11 times the cosine of x. Okay. All right, so doesn't seem so bad, but I'm going to tell you this is where everyone makes their mistakes on the math part of this. We have to work it out. It doesn't always just work out so nice. So 8 squared is 64, okay? 10 squared plus 11 squared. This piece right here, if we add those together, is 221. And then minus 2 times 10 times 11, we would get a minus 220, and that's still times the cosine of x degrees, okay? The reason why I separated those is because you cannot subtract 221 minus 220. Don't write this down. So many people want to say, oh, 221 minus 220, that's 1 times the cosine of x. That is not the case. Don't ever do that. That is not how order of operation works. We add and subtract before we multiply, or excuse me, we multiply and divide before we add and subtract. Okay, so I cannot add and subtract those because it's being multiplied times the cosine of x. So I have to do a little solving here. The first thing you do is subtract the 221 over. So 64 minus 221 is a negative 157 equals, don't lose this negative. A lot of people want to lose that negative, but it was negative 2 times 10 times 11 equals the negative 220 times the cosine of x. And now it's being multiplied, so I can divide it, negative 220, both sides. And I have negative 157 over negative 220 is going to be a positive 0.714. That is equal to your cosine of x degrees. Okay, so I did all that work. I subtracted and then I divided, and I have negative 157 over negative 220 is positive 0.714. That's equal to the cosine of x. Just like in law of sines, when you're trying to find an angle, you need to use the inverse. So the last step here, if you want to find your x in degrees, is you need to take the inverse cosine of 0.714. You do this in your calculator, okay? So I'll go to my calculator. Let me clear everything. And watch, let me put in the negative 157, and I'll divide it by the negative 220, so that last step we were doing. Okay, so we get that 0.714. So I don't have a rounded answer right now, okay? So here's my 0.714. I want to do the inverse cosine, so I hit inverse cosine. shows up as arcsine, and it's going to be of my last answer. Or you could put 0.714. It'll be close enough, okay? And I hit enter, and I can see here rounded to 1 decimal, it's 44.5 degrees. 44.5 degrees. That is the value of x, 44.5 degrees. And we are done with the problem. So these ones take a little bit longer because the math takes a little bit longer. Let's do one more of these before we move on to the last part. So number 6 here, triangle LMN. Okay, so I'm going to draw my triangle. Doesn't matter where you put LM and N. I'll do L, M, N. Okay. Segment LM is 25. Segment MN is 20. LN is 24. And we are looking for angle L. Okay, this is the angle we're looking for here. Notice we have side of 25, side of 20, side of 24. That's the given information. Because you have side, 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 it's okay to use law of cosines. Okay. All right, back to what we're looking for. We are looking for angle L here. The angle side pair is going to be that angle L and that 20. So that needs to go on the outside of your equation, and then 24 and 25 will go in the middle. So I have the 20 squared on the outside, and then I have cosine of angle L on the outside, because what you're looking for, the angle side pair, goes on the outside of your formula. The other two sides go in the middle. 24 squared plus 25 squared minus, I'm going to run out of room, minus 2 times 24 times 25, and then times the cosine of angle L. I ran out of room. Okay? So, again, what you're looking for on the outside, the other two sides in the middle. And then you have to do the math. Okay? 20 squared is going to be 400. 24 squared plus 25 squared is 1,201. And then negative 2 times 24 times 25 is a negative 1,200. And that's times the cosine of L. Do not subtract 1,201 from 1,200. Instead, subtract 1,201 to the other side. You get negative 801 equals negative 1,200 times the cosine of L. Still solving for the cosine, so I divide by negative 1,200 on both sides. Negative 801 divided by negative 1,200 is going to be 0.6675. That's equal to the cosine of angle L. And we still haven't found the angle, so the last step is to use the inverse. L is going to equal the inverse cosine of that 0.6675. So you go to your calculator, you type in inverse cosine of that last answer, the 0.6675, and you'll see that it's 48.1 degrees. This is angle L. Okay. So make sure you do your order of operations there carefully. All right. We will not be doing the applications. If you would like to try them, or if you just like some extra work, you can pause. You can and write down the work for number 7, okay? But you don't need to worry about the word problems, okay? And then you can pause and you can look at number 9, okay? All right, last part, and then we are all done using both of them. They're going to give you some information, and you're going to have to decide, do I use a law of sines or do I use a law of cosines? You have to figure it out, okay? So, depending on the information you're given, if you're given angle, angle, side, angle, side, angle, or side, side, angle, you can use a law of sines. If you're given side, angle, side, or side, 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 then you can use law of cosines, okay? I personally like to remember law of cosines, I feel like it's easier to remember these two, side angle, side, 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 side. And then if it's not either of those, then I know I use law of sines. So for me, law of cosines, just memorizing side angle, side, or side, 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 way easier. And then I know if it's not that, I use law of sines. Okay? So looking at number 1 here, you got to look at the information given to you. I have a side, this angle, and then a side. Because it is side angle side, we are going to use law of cosines. Okay? And then you use the formula to find your answer. So law of cosines, here's the side I'm looking for. This is the opposite side pair. So those are the pieces that are going to be on the outside of my formula. I'll start with x squared. And then it needs to equal the middle pieces times the cosine of 39 degrees. What you're looking for goes on the outside. The rest, the 9 and the 19, go in the middle. 9 squared plus 19 squared minus 2 times 9 times 19, and then that's times the cosine of 39. Okay. This is one of those, when you're solving for the side, you can just plug it straight in your calculator. So if you plug that all straight into your calculator, 9 squared and plus 19 squared minus 2 times 9 times 19 times cos 39, you get 176.216, about that. And last step, square root both sides, and we get x is 13.3. Okay, so again, it didn't tell you to use law of cosines or law of sines. You had to figure out the fact that they gave you side angle side, so it's law of cosines. Okay. Let's look at this one. So let's look at the information they gave us. We have a side, we have another side, and then we have an angle. So what we have here is side, side angle. Okay? When it's side, side angle, we use law of sines. So I'm going to use my law of sines formula from the last section. Okay? I have, let's see, I have the angle side pair x and 8, and then I have the angle side pair 112 and 118. So I'll start there. Sine of 112 over 18 is equal to the sine of x over little 8. Not little 8, side 8. Okay, so again, based on the information they gave us, I said, oh, I can use law of sines. If you tried to do law of cosines, you'd probably see that you're missing information and it doesn't work. You'll have two variables, for instance, in your equation, and you'll see you can't do that. Okay, so sometimes if you have it wrong, maybe it's because you picked the wrong formula. Okay. For these ones, we cross multiply, so that's 8 times sine 112 equals 18 times the sine of x. I will divide by 18 on both sides. And so 8 times sine 112 divided by 18, put it in your calculator carefully, you get 0.412 for the sine of x. But we need to use the inverse because we are solving for our angle. So our angle x is going to be the inverse sine of 0.412. We've got to do that last step in order to find the angle. And in this case, we have 24.3 degrees if you plug it in correctly in your calculator. Okay? So same as last section, just deciding which one to use. They're not telling you which one to use. Last couple problems, solving a triangle. To solve a triangle means you find all the missing sides and angles. So they're going to give you 3 pieces and you have to find the other 3 pieces. Okay, there's 6 total pieces, 3 angles and 3 sides. So depending on what they give you, there's the other 3 pieces you need to find, all of them. Okay, so we start. Draw a triangle. I'm going to put A, B, and C. Doesn't matter where you put them though. Angle A, 47 degrees. Angle B, 52 degrees. And let's see, AC is 13. This piece is 13. Okay. From what I see here, I can find this third angle very easily. 180 degrees in a triangle. And then everything else I see, I have angle, angle, and a side. Angle, angle, side is a law of sines. Okay, so after I find angle C, I'll do a law of sines because that's the information that is given to me. All right, let's start. Angle C. It's the easiest one, so why not do it? Okay, angle C is going to be 180 degrees, and I'm going to subtract the 47 degrees and the 52 degrees. And we would get 81 degrees. You can do that. You can use your geometry to find missing pieces. So angle C, 81 degrees. All right. Now the other pieces. Put that in here. 81 degrees because I'm going to use that in just a second. All right. We still need the other little pieces, little a, and then little c, okay? It doesn't matter what order you find them in. I will start with little a because it's the beginning of the alphabet, but that's the only reason, okay? And we said we can use law of sines. So I have little a and 47 degrees, and then I have 52 and 13. Okay, so I'm going to create a law of sines. Sine 52 degrees over 13 equals sine 47 over little a. All right. So I've used my information. I'm finding a second missing piece. I do my cross multiplication. Just for time's sake, I'm going to tell you its a is 13 times sine 47 degrees, and we divide that by sine of 52. And the value here is going to be 12.1. This segment, little a, is segment BC. So, come over here, segment BC, 12.1. Okay. Found the next piece, little a. We have one more piece to find. It's little c. I can use that 52-13 angle side pair again. And then I can use 81C. So I can use that same angle side pair. It's okay. And so it's going to be sine 52 degrees divided by 13 equals sine 81 degrees divided by little c. So use the information you found. It's fine. Okay, even if it's rounded, it is what it is. Okay. Doing a little bit of math here. C is equal to 13 times sine 81 over sine of 52 when you do your cross multiplication and then divide. And this value, doing the math in our calculator, 16.3. This is segment AB. 16.3. And we are done. We have found all three missing pieces of our triangle. We have solved the triangle. Okay. All right. Last one forever. Last one for the end of the year. Okay. Triangle XYZ. Go ahead and draw it. X, Y, and Z. They tell you XY is 29. Tell you YZ is 22. XZ is 21. All right. That means I have to find all three angles. I've given all three sides. I got to find all three angles. They gave you all three sides. Side, side, side is a law of cosines. So I must start with the law of cosines. So like above, I had law of sines. Angle, angle, side, I had to use a law of sines. So here, I will use law of cosines. Doesn't matter, pick a variable, X, Y, or Z. I will pick X because I like it. Okay, so I'm picking X. That means X and 22 have to be on the outside. The X is the angle. So we start with the side 22 squared, and then we end with angle cosine X degrees. Our other two sides, 21 and 29, will be in the middle. 21 squared plus 29 squared minus 2 times 21 times 29 times the cosine of x. Yes, these ones take a little bit more time with the math, okay? 22 squared is going to be 484. 21 squared plus 29 squared here is 1282. 2 times 21 times 29 is going to be 1218 times the cosine of x. I subtract the 1282. And I get negative 798 is equal to negative 1218 cosine of x. Divide by that negative 1218. So negative 798 divided by negative 1218 is 0.6552. That's equal to the cosine of x. But of course, our x is going to be, we're going to need to use an inverse. Oops, that's not how I wanted to write it. Okay, so x is going to be the inverse cosine of 0.6552. So you need to use the inverse to find the actual angle one last step, and it's 49.1 degrees. Okay, so use the inverse to find the angle one last step, 49.1 degrees for x. Okay. Now, we still have to find y and z. I'm going to move on to y. It's up to you on this one. You can do another law of cosines, or now that you have an angle side pair, you know that this angle here is 49.1 degrees. You can actually use law of sines because I have this angle side pair here. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do, because I like law of sines a little bit more than cosines for some reason. So I'm going to do law of sines. So once you do a law of cosines, after that, you should be able to use a law of sines. So it's sine, and I'll use that 49.1 degree angle that I just found over 22. That's the angle side pair. And it'll equal, if I do y, it'll be y and 21. So sine of angle y over 21. Okay? And then you can cross multiply to find y. So my sine of y then, if you do the cross multiplication, is going to be 21 times sine 49.1 over 22. And this equals a number of 0.7215. So sine y, when you do all the cross multiplication and then you divide, you get 0.7215, which we have to use inverse again. Y degrees is going to be the inverse sine of 0.7215. Okay, so you go back to your calculator, you do the inverse sine of 0.7215, and you get 46.2 degrees. And so now you found your second piece, 46.2 degrees. That's fine. Okay. Third piece. Just like the third angle on the number 5, you can find the third angle using your simple geometry skills, 180 degrees in a triangle. Okay, so no need to do another law of sines or law of cosines. Angle Z is just going to be equal to 180 minus the 49.1 minus the 46.2 degrees. And when you subtract that, you get 84.7 degrees. Again, no need to do a law of sines or cosines on that third angle ever. Okay? And we are done. Congratulations. It is the end of the year. That is your last set of notes. I miss you all. I wish I could be here to celebrate the last set of notes with you. Congratulations. Have a good day, and come see me in my office hours with any questions.